one. Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our new friend Gary Chong. Well, not our new friend, but first time going face to face. I mean, we've hung out in a crap load of spaces and had many talks. We're here breaking down Stargazers and everything in between. Gary, welcome to the stream. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great, man. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for putting me on your platform and to talk about Stargazers, man. And we got to host a lot of topics that we're gonna go through. I'm here, man. I'm ready to get into it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we get into it, let's begin with the basics, with who you are and how you got into creating indie comics.
Okay. Well, I'm Gary Chong, obviously. On social media, on Twitter, I'm known as the Interesting Introvert, Right Peaceful. And I got into comics at, like everybody else, at a young age, with Marvel, DC, Image, a lot of those early titles like The Max, Savage Dragon, Spawn, a lot of X-Men, a lot of, Sleepwalker too. I got a Sleepwalker fan. And from that point on, I fell in love with comics. And to the point where I would make my own comics. I would draw it out by hand on the, the printing paper, and I make these little generic superhero stories. And at first, I wanted to be a professional comic book artist. And I was, I was buying books on how to draw comics, how to craft comics and stuff like that. And when I got to high school, because I went to the High School of Art and Design in Manhattan, I got accepted. And when I got there and I started seeing like portfolios of like, other students who were into comics, and I seen the level they were at, and I'm like, oh, okay, I don't think I can cut it professionally. I'm okay, but I don't think this is the right field for me. So I leaned more into writing comics. I always loved writing. And I kind of fell out of, I kind of took a break from comics, because I was a teenager, like girls and parties and all that stuff. So I took like a good 10-year break from comics.
Yeah.
Just I live life. And around 2016, 2017, I got the itch to get back into comics and to write and to, it just came back, and I was like, you know what, let me hit up my local comic book stores. Let me get back into it. And in 2018, I was looking for a particular title. I was trying to find a comic book that had like space adventures and martial arts and stuff like that. And I couldn't find it for the life of me. I went to every comic book store I could find, and they looked at me like I had 5 heads. They were like, what are you talking about? We got Star Wars and we have Iron Fist. We don't have anything like that, what you're talking about. So I said, you know what? Let me just make it. Let me just write it. Let me come up with it. And that's how Stargazers was born.
No, that was awesome. We have Mavis Games over on Twitch stopping in to hype up the chat. Welcome to the stream, Mavis. Appreciate you stopping in. For anyone that is watching, here is the pre-launch to the Kickstarter that is going to be dropping for Stargazers. Man, I love that. Took a break. Hit up the ladies, hit up the parties. Once you got that out of your system, come back to it. The love never went away. It just kind of it took a back seat. I get that. So what was some of your inspirations though? I think that's a really interesting mix. Iron Fist and Star Wars. It seems like it should be a comic, right?
Yeah, it should be, but unfortunately, it's until now it hasn't been created. Well, I guess my influences as far as comic books were the legend Jack Kirby. Hands down, to me he's the messiah of comics. And I guess a more modern take for inspiration would be like Sam Keith. Um, I like Eric Larson and Todd McFarlane and Chris Claremont. You know, those guys really made me want to do it professionally when I seen the type of stuff they were doing with comics, and I was like, they elevated it to a level beyond just guys punching each other and saving the day. So I was like, it really sparked interest in my mind to like craft a story that people would get invested in from beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that about comics, you know, that anybody from like a little kid to a guy in his 40s can love the same book and have that kind of passion for the story. I love that.
No, absolutely. I really love to how you began trying to be an artist. I remember being a little kid and having the how to draw books and how to draw like the upside down books, and I could never do it. And eventually I had the same realization where I was like, man, I am not going to get anywhere with any of these drawings. But I mean, for you went on to go to school. So how was that transition, that feeling for you? You know, ultimately wanting to go to be an artist, but then realizing like, hey, maybe writing might be the better path for you.
It was definitely a shock. It was like somebody throwing cold water in your face, and you realizing, okay, I had all these dreams and aspirations, but no, I'm not gonna make it. But actually, I feel like writing, it's more up my alley. You know, I feel like I like having that control of actually writing story arcs and building up characters, and I love that more than drawing. You know, I still respect the craft, but it's I don't have the patience for it, honestly.
So, you know, what was your other stories like before you got to Stargazers? You said you've kind of like messed around with other stories, nothing like too crazy, but I mean, like, what type of variety were those stories? Just your basic superhero ones?
No, well, actually, aside from Stargazers, I have about 5 or 6 other titles that I've been working on the side that I'm gonna release later on.
Busy.
Stay busy, man. I got a horror title called Somberville, and it's a very interesting take. It's probably gonna be like 12-issue run, and I think that might shake up the scene a little bit, the way I'm gonna construct it. But first and foremost, Stargazers, that needs to come out ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
And I want people to get this first book and instantly fall in love with it, like how manga is taking over, how people like Berserk, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, all that stuff. I want people to feel the same way about this project.
You know, yeah, I love that. And I had the opportunity to read a little bit of the preview, and everyone watching, we will have the preview ready to show in just a little bit, so stay tuned. You're gonna get a chance to kind of see that as well. Yeah. Let's dive a little bit into the creative process behind Stargazers. So as the writer, you know, how did that, you know, process look like for you?
Oh man, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I decided I wanted to actually make a comic book and start from scratch, it was a little overwhelming, to tell you the truth. I had to find an artist. First of all, I had to write a good synopsis and a good structure, a good foundation for this book, and it took a long time just to get the basics down, just to get the foundation set, and get all the character profiles drawn, and me and my artist finding a nice groove and getting on the same page as far as how we communicate, how uh, how to push this story forward in a way that wasn't a drag. It was, I wanted to make this process fun, first and foremost. And that took about 6 months before we even started drawing any pages or anything like that, before I even sent him a full script. That took about 6 months to get everything set up. And after that point, around, I want to say the end of 2018 going into 2019 is when we started just cranking out these pages. And it's definitely a fun process. And I don't know if a lot of other writers do this, but I write everything by hand. I don't like to touch a keyboard until I actually start typing up the final script, the panel breakdowns and stuff. Everything I do is by hand.
Does it make it more like meaningful to you, or like you're able to like get into the groove easier with a pencil or pen?
Yeah, it's coming. I don't know what it is. It's coming directly from my mind to my hand. There's no middleman there. So I feel like it's way easier to write by hand, and it works out for me. Like I don't get writer's block that way. I could crank out a full script in about I say a week. I can knock out a full script.
So who's the creative team involved in on this? Who's your artist, letterer, colorist?
Oh man, we got my first artist was Carl Blasio. He's an artist from the Philippines, and he did about 70% of the book. But unfortunately, he had passed away last year in August from COVID. So I had to, take a step back from the project and figure out, how I was going to move forward with this. But fortunately, I found a artist a month later. But his name is Juliano Bobs. He's from Brazil, and luckily for me, his style is similar to Carl's, so the transition isn't that jarring. It's you could tell there's a difference in the art, but it's not a radical difference. And we have Rob Jones as a letterer. He's done a ton of stuff for a plethora of different publishers.
Yeah, I want to say I went to him for the logo for Keeping It Geekly.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I want to say he lettered it for me.
He's a cool dude. Definitely a professional.
So, man, that is so unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear about your loss. That seems like it would be such a tough situation to do you redo the whole book, or what do you do at that point?
Oh man, I was when I took a step back, I was seriously thinking about just scrapping it and just doing something else. But I talked to my wife about it. I talked to friends and family, and they told me, you know what, it'd be a waste, because this is essentially his last project that he worked on. It'd be a shame to just scrap that. So it'd be better to just finish it. And we're gonna do a nice dedication page for Carl in the book, just to show him some love, and any profits that we get, we're definitely gonna send it over to his family.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Of course, man. And he was a great guy. He definitely loved basketball, man. He's a Kobe fan. we would talk about basketball in between, pages and stuff, and definitely a beloved guy. And we have Anton Pol. I think I'm gonna butcher his last name. He's Polholsky. He's Ukrainian, and he's the colorist on this project. And he's been rocking with us since day one. And he's also an excellent inker as well. Definitely a professional, solid guy.
That's awesome. And it's always tough when you lose a part of the team, but the way you want to kind of keep things together in a way to almost as a memorial for him, right? His last work is going to be lasting forever now. And I think that was an awesome move, and to throw some of the profit to his family as well. Like, man, awesome, Gary. So let's break a little bit about Stargazer before we dive into it. This is a story about the summary, a young boy trying to bring his father back to Earth. I have a feeling there's a lot more to it than just that, though.
Oh man, we're just scratching the surface here. Well, in this first book, right, this is, let me preface this by saying, this is the first of 4 books. Each book is going to be roughly 108 pages, graphic novel style. And a lot of people were telling me, are you nuts?
Yeah.
First major title, you're going to do 108 pages? I said,
4 of them.
I know it may seem crazy, but I think I could pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a prologue at the beginning of the book to kind of catch everybody up, because the way this book starts, it can be a little jarring, but it makes sense after you read the prologue. It's what we have is our antagonist of this story, Rusum. He's basically in the southern part of this universe. He's in the southern part. He's basically like, I guess you could say, like dark side, like on a god tier level, and he gets word of a suzerain popping up in the northern part of the universe where Earth and our solar system is. And he essentially sends a planetary attack to Earth because he doesn't, he's like, I don't want any competition rolling up on me. So let's eliminate that threat. So that's what they do. But our protagonist's father, Dennis Hawkins, he essentially stops this attack before it decimates the planet. But in the process, he gets captured. So our story picks up with our protagonist, Sage Hawkins, and he gets a distress signal from his father, and essentially tells him, look, I'm captured, I'm across the universe. If anybody can hear this, come help a brother out. So our hero, he decides to take up the task, this Herculean task of trying to rescue his father and bring him back safely to Earth. And in this first book, he meets up with his teacher of this style of martial arts, this mystical martial arts, Flora Miami. And she lives in the same neighborhood as him. He's from Buffalo, New York. He's a 17-year-old kid, but he encounters her when he's about 7, and he learns this martial arts from her. And she chooses him because he wants to learn how to fight for a righteous reason. He lives in a crime-ridden neighborhood. He wants to protect his family, so she decides, okay, I'll teach you. And there's a lot of other tricks and surprises that happen along the way in this story. But this first book is him learning all that information, learning the martial arts, and him trying to get to space. So that's how we wrap this first book up.
Tell us a little bit about the martial arts. It's what type of properties is going to have? It seems like it's not going to be like your ordinary martial arts.
No way. It's this particular style of martial arts is it's similar to, I don't know if you're familiar with this title. It's called Fist of the North Star, where it's essentially one master and one student, and once the style is passed down, that's it. There's no multiple students, nothing. So he's essentially carrying this legacy with him, and this style of martial arts is basically the ultimate offense, the perfect defense. He can essentially replicate any style he comes across.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
And he's also hyper intelligent, so he's able to learn this style in half the time it would take a normal practitioner. It'll take about normal person maybe 20 years. He learns it in about 8. And he uses his intellect along with his martial arts to help him along the way, because he's gonna come across some tough dudes, man. Some dudes you think a regular human can't get past, but he figures out a way.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that a lot. So let's go ahead. I think right now would be the perfect segue for us to check it out, and the first couple of preview pages. So we are looking at the cover and page. Is this page 1?
That's page 1.
So gorgeous colors here. I love this beginning exposition showing you like just kind of the universe and the look right here. What was some of your inspirations for starting it this way?
I'm gonna say the when I did the universal map for this world, I took a little bit of inspiration from One Piece and the way they set up the 4 Yonkos, and each person had to cover a specific territory, and it kind of kept the universe in balance. So that's kind of where I was going with this. So this is the southern galaxy on that first page you're looking at, and this is Rusum's territory. He controls everything in this galaxy in the southern part. Oh, my man Giuliano Bobs, he did that cover, by the way.
I gotcha.
He nailed it. And
you said a little bit that he had kind of a dark side vibe to him, and yeah, I could see that a little bit. What other influences did you have for this character's concept?
I took, when I was thinking of Rusum, right? I had dark side in my head, and I also had there's a villain from Fatal Fury. I can't remember his name right now. It escapes me, but
yeah, you got me on that one too.
Yeah, I'll tell you later. But I essentially took his armor and his stance and his mannerisms from Darkseid and this other character, and he's essentially he's arrogant. He's very confident, because he also has his own style of fighting, which is very unique. And it's gonna turn some heads. I don't think this has ever been done before in this medium.
I'm really liking these character designs too, like the horns from the head, the swearing their allegiance and everything, and then we get a good look at the corpse of the beast too, and these are some like really intense looking designs.
Yeah, this is essentially his elite force, you could say. This is his inner army. You could say that they're not at his level, but they're right beneath him.
Yeah.
And they're very dangerous dudes. Very dangerous. And
so what's happening right here after we get a look at the corpse of the beast?
Okay, well, essentially in that page before, he essentially sends a planetary attack towards Earth after he learns that information about the Suzerain, and it takes him about 3 months to get there. So this is a department on Earth that monitors space activity, and they're noticing there's thousands of ships coming. Like, what's going on here? Like, ring the alarms. And the following page is basically everyone around the world is noticing what's about to happen. Some real stuff's about to happen in a few minutes. So it's a lot of terror, a lot of fright and panic happening.
And then we get a good look at the fleet that's starting to hit Earth as well.
Yeah. So Yeah, this is all part of the prologue, and I think I'm definitely confident that after everyone reads the full book and they read the prologue and the story, they'll definitely want to get book 2.
No, that's awesome, dude. That is awesome. Thank you once again for sending me that PDF and giving us the opportunity to take a deep, closer look at it as well.
Of course.
Let's go ahead and switch over to our other camera. I just had to kind of bask in this scene a little bit since it's so brand new. It's so nice to see, especially available on iTunes and Spotify. Like, that worked out so perfect.
So fresh and so clean, man. It's looking sharp over there.
So, Gary, after going through, the first 9 pages of the prologue, here's a link for the pre-launch. Everyone, be sure to sign up to be notified for when that launch. When can people expect you to go live with this campaign?
Oh, we're going live in October. The beginning of October, we're going live for 2 months, and and the first, we have a special poster for the first 200 backers. You're gonna get something exclusive signed. You're gonna love it. Okay,
let's go. That is so awesome. So before we wrap things up completely, I always like to finish on a strong note, Gary. So with that being said, as much as this is a show where we really focus on you and your book, I also like to have a little segment for anyone who might be new to the scene, or anyone maybe they're just kind of stuck in a rut and they're unable to kind of just get going. So with that being said, for anyone out there who is struggling getting going with their work, whether it's writing or the art or anything in between, what type of advice would you offer them to help them get motivated just to get started?
I would say step away from the step away from the pad and the pen, and you have to experience life. You have to go out and experience life and talk to different people, and influences they'll just come to you, but you have to, you gotta step away. You gotta live life a little bit, and I say come back. I say that's the best advice. If you're getting stuck on something.
Yeah, experiencing new things gives you more things to talk about, right? Gives you more things to write about. It just being there, beating the wall, that's the definition of insanity.
Of course. So turn off Twitter, turn off social media, and just go outside. It'll be good.
No, absolutely. Everyone watching, right there is the link. Be sure to sign up and share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter. Word of mouth is 100% free, and let's try to get as many pre-launch followers as we can for Gary and Stargazers. Expect this campaign to go live in October. With that being said, it is a beautiful night. I got to double check on my children, make sure they are sleeping because I hear them jumping up on their beds. Night before school, gotta get them in. Gotta get them in. That being said, we are going to be wrapping it up. I hope you all have a lovely Monday night, but most important, wait, it's Sunday night.
Sunday.
Most importantly, though, keep it geekly.